Alright everybody, let's talk about some example deals, shall we? So this is the example deals video, the non-performing note case study deals from mentors and associates that are current as of this year. This goes back a couple years, so these are active deals that were bought as non-performing notes and then liquidated in some form or fashion. And this is a little bit better way to look at it as opposed to just pulling information off of a tape. This is a lot better way to take a look at what some of the deals will look like as they come at us. So let's see, let me get this frame adjusted a little bit here first. So this one here is LOWRIDGE Drive in Westchester, Ohio. I think I'm missing a picture somewhere. But the purchase price was $12,000. The unpaid balance, what the borrower owed, was $48,000. What the house was worth when it was bought, paid $12,000. It was worth $55,000 when it was purchased. And here's some of the expenses we had. Some of the expenses were just miscellaneous servicing, due diligence related stuff, and we also had a lien on there for $7,400. Now the homeowner did a ton of upgrades, and then they rented out the house. The current tenants wanted to stay and sign a new lease, but the owner was difficult to reach. However, once we did reach out to them, she wanted to keep the rental. She completed a loan modification, brought $6,000 down, $500 a month for 20 years was the payment, the loan forbearance that we figured out, and modified it. Later on, she defaulted, and we're in the process of foreclosing. So we'll either sell that at auction for $52,000 or so and take it back, or we can just keep it rented out as it was before for $850 a month. So if you're doing the math on that, I want you to run the numbers real quick here. $12,000, and my math is correct, is pretty close to $9,000, $10,000 a year in income. I want you to run the numbers again. $12,000 cost. We had a $7,500 lien, so that takes us to about $20,000 right there. And rental income per year is just short of $10,000. So that is a smoking deal. I don't care who you are. That is an amazing, amazing deal. And this place in Westchester, Ohio, I've been there. I used to have a buddy that lived up there who did hard money loans for rehabbers. And this neighborhood was fantastic. A lot of brick homes in the neighborhood. Oh, there it is right there. All right, so yeah, fantastic place. Brick siding, nice house. Westchester is outstanding, and this deal was unbelievable. So made a bunch of money on that. Cash now, house later. Even get some income from that. All right, the next deal here, Lorain, Ohio. The purchase price was $5,500, so this is a really cheap deal. Legal costs for foreclosure, $4,800. Taxes were $9,800 in arrear. Clean out was $1,800. So the owner had multiple properties. So this is a landlord, essentially had multiple properties that they collected rent on. The door knocker was unable to reach the tenant or the owner, and the owner refused to speak to the servicer. Now, the foreclosure took 7 months. This is Ohio. It takes a little bit longer for occupied properties. And the deed transfer took 5 months. That's just the way it is. Sometimes it takes that long to clear out some of these deals. Just each state is a little bit different, and Ohio tends to take a little longer. So sold the property post-foreclosure as is, as a real estate owned property for $21,000. Now, if you do the math, add this up, we are very, very close to that $21,000. And this is the lesson of cheap notes. The smaller the price that you pay for a note, and the smaller the value of the house, the more these little things like legal costs and taxes and clean out really eat into your profit. Oh, sorry about that. So you have to be careful when you buy these cheap notes. You have to make sure you understand all these little parts and pieces that will nibble away at your profit. Otherwise, you're going to end up spending money that you don't need to on notes that you really don't want. So, profit $2,000, all capital returned in 12 months. That's almost a zero return on investment. So it can happen, but that is the lesson of cheap, small little notes that you think, okay, well, I've just got enough to buy a $5,000 or $10,000 note. then you have all this other little junk that comes along with it that just soaks up all your profit and gives it to somebody else. So you want to start thinking about notes that are a little bit higher in the band, up in the $20,000 range, because those houses typically are worth a little bit bigger spread, up in the $40,000 or $50,000 range, and you don't have to worry about, you know, a $5,000 attorney fee for foreclosure, or, you know, a tax lien that is on the title there. It won't eat up as much as your profit at the end of the day, and you're still going to end up having, you know, these little higher price deals take a little longer anyhow, so you might as well just buy a little higher price note and give yourself a little bigger spread. So this one here, Hartford Street in Indianapolis, purchase price is $11,000, back taxes $46,000, so that takes us close to $16,000 there. BPO at purchase $51,000 is what the agent seemed to think it would be worth as it repairs. So $20,000 in, $50,000 BPO. The expenses, if we wanted to hold that property, about $20,000 in repair to get it up to market condition. But luckily, this one was outbid at the auction steps for $29,000. So purchased the loan for $11,000. Back taxes, insurance, and commission were $4,600. BPO at purchase was about $51,000. Found out that the property was in very bad shape. The local contractor estimated about $20,000 of work to bring it to current market standards. We decided to commit to the renovation, but our realtor ended up promoting the foreclosure auction, and we got cashed out a little sooner than we expected, which is okay. Remember, one of the things that you need to keep in mind is, how long is my money going to be out there? If I can take $20,000, invest it, get $2,000 or $3,000 in return in a month's time, how many more times in a year can you do that? That will drastically increase your return, as opposed to investing $20,000 on the note and the back taxes and commission, holding it for a year for a $10,000 profit. You might have lost money if you could compare apples to apples. So that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind. How quick is my money turning, and how quick is my money returning to me with a profit attached to it? If you're only turning your money once a year, turning that $20,000 once a year for a $5,000 or $8,000 profit, that might be great. But what if you could turn that $20,000 several, 5-6 times a year and get it back even quicker? So again, you have to compare these things and think through what your plan is, and it's neither here nor there, but just something to consider. So this one here, Phoenix, Arizona, purchase price $32,000, unpaid balance of $112,000. So this is one of those homes bought in the peak of the market. The BPO at purchase now is worth $44,000. So this one here is kind of tight on the margins here, but look why it might be kind of important. The borrower has been paying Chapter 13 settlements for 12 months. That means they went into bankruptcy to save their home and clear off some other debt. So they want to stay in the house, though. They owe much more than the house is worth, but they're steadily paying at $1,152 a month. Here's why this is important. If you were to tell me, Jason, you're going to buy a $32,000 asset that puts $500 in your $500 in your pocket a month, I mean, that's okay. That wouldn't be very much. That's in the neighborhood of probably 10 to 12%. Do the numbers on this: $1,152 each month. I'll punch that into my calculator right now. Times 12 equals $13,824 a year. And what that turns out to be is about a 43% return on your money, cash on cash return each year. Plus, you still have the house that secures it, which is worth a little bit as well. So, that said, don't overestimate or don't overlook your cash flow, and don't overlook bankruptcy Chapter 13. It doesn't mean a whole lot. Bankruptcy, what a lot of people don't realize is with bankruptcies, you are able to see everything that the borrower has. So if the borrower thinks that they're going to pull a fast one on you by pulling a bankruptcy out, just let them know, hey, that's good news because I get to see everything that you've got, and they can't hide anything from the judge. So that's better than 31% ROI cash flow yearly. I took out some numbers from that 43% because of servicing and things like that, and building in some missed payments in there. Emory Drive here, purchase price was $58,000 for the note, and look right here, BPO is $105,000. This is one of those kind of deals I was telling you about, where you you make sure you build in a spread between what it's worth and what you buy it for. And these bigger numbers tend to have more spread. Even if you had a lot more problems with it, it's not that big of a deal. Expenses were $12,000 for foreclosure, due diligence, insurance, and commission that was on there. Oops, I'm going to go back. But anyway, about $28,000 profit for that one. Not too shabby. Several other ones here. This is from one of my other mentors. First position loan, property value was $90,000. We built in the ability to sell it at 90% of fair market value minus closing costs, minus the cost of the asset, which means our note was about 50 cents on the investment to the value. So how much money did we bring in? The investment to what's the value? $90,000. So the cost of the asset right here was about half of what the property value was. So that's an important number to know, your investment to value. Try to stay in the 50 to 55% range. You can go cheaper, down into the $20,000, $30,000 or lower. But again, remember, those houses are usually worth significantly less, and you end up with your foreclosure costs, your rehab costs, any taxes usually gobble up a much larger percentage of your returns than normal. So again, remember, a lot of these homes, if you're buying these nicer ones that aren't in ghettos or aren't in war zones, these houses, sometimes people will just move out and do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. Some of these people will, you build in this cost for repairs, and it's usually just carpet and paint and minor things, because the homeowners, you want to set up an agreement with them where they move out of the house and leave it in decent broom swept condition, and you don't want to leave a huge mess. You don't want them to leave a huge mess for you, so you make an arrangement with them for them to move out. This one happened to be the income of sale of the asset was $125. The net sale got us $108, and ended up holding it for just short of a year. Foreclosures in Florida take a little longer, but that's okay. We made the return. Gross profit $51,598. ROI was 91%, and the investor split for that deal was 46%. Not too shabby. So here's another one, Lauderhill, Florida. Loan position was the first. Property value was $55,000, and the cost was $24,000. So roughly about 44% there. Total expenses on this deal took it up to $34,000. We ended up with quite a good deal on this one. The borrower was waiting for the bank to foreclose, but never heard back from the bank. The bank sold the note. We paid the HOA fees of $4,000. Florida HOA deal allowed us to get the property back, and says the property appreciated to $82,000. So originally, when we bought this from the hedge fund, it said that the property value was $55,000. The cost of the asset was $24,000. But in between the time that the last person checked the BPO and the time that we sold it, the property went up in value significantly. So there's a huge difference in price there. Another one, Lay Acres. The foreclosure was the strategy. The borrower is out of the country. Property was vacant, and it took us about 12 months to foreclose. So the property value was $130,000. Cost of the asset was $45,000. Investment to value, 35%. So come down here, income, gross profit, and ROI split. So that's not too bad. Now you got to keep this in mind as well. If this wasn't Florida and it didn't take a full year to foreclose, if you only ended up with a 15% return after 4 months, would that be good or bad? You got to ask yourself some of these questions. And one of the questions that I say, 15%, I don't know about that. Well, think about it. If you're able to turn those properties 4 times a year, if it took 4 months to get 15%, 8 months would get you maybe another 15% with one or another deal, another 15% 4 months later, and you've got a pretty significant return potential there if you just look at the big picture. So don't always discount, these low ROIs. They may be good if you can get in and out quickly, but that kind of depends on which state you're in. If you're in a judicial state, it's going to take longer to foreclose. If you're in a regular non-judicial state, it's going to take a significantly shorter amount of time, but you might be able to get lower returns and just do more of them and still end up with the same ROI. So just remember to hit singles. You don't always have to hit big home runs. So this one is Pennsauken, New Jersey. Purchase price $61,000. Unpaid balance is $101,000. The BPO value at purchase was $131,000. So pretty close to 50% of fair market value there. The expenses $2,409. And profit was $14,253. Because the borrower's high income, the reason for default was to help the kid's child tuition. The borrower had $7,000 to reinstate, but the prior servicer or the bank wouldn't accept anything but full payment. I think this one was a sale of the note after they cashed us out and took care of getting the note back in functional again, turning it into a reperformer. Well, this is so out of 10 deals, how many go into foreclosure? How many get a deed in lieu or a friendly foreclosure? And how many get worked out or refinanced? This is an important thing to know, and one of the importance of why I always stress getting mentors and getting people who are in the industry already blazing the trails that you want to be in. If you want to be up to speed, you don't want to make up numbers. You don't want to guess as to how many of these deals are going to go into deed in lieu, because you need to be able to kind of project what your finances are going to be, how much profit you're going to make, and you'll be able to tell your investors. So out of these 10 deals, how many go into foreclosure? Right now, today, in August of 2016, about 60% of these are going into foreclosure. It used to be much less than that, but now it's what it is. So plan on foreclosures being 60% of what you purchase. Deed in lieu or friendly foreclosure, those are about 30%, or 3 out of the 10. And get a workout or refinance, that's another 30% or 3 out of 10 as well. So deed in lieu, we might have discussed this on another one. Deed in lieu is simply where the homeowner goes, Mr. Bank, I don't want you to foreclose. Sign the name here. Here's the deed to the property. I'm going to walk away. Friendly foreclosure, same concept, except if the homeowner doesn't want to have a foreclosure, but there's a lot of liens on the property, or a lot of not back taxes, but code enforcement, IRS liens, other construction liens, things of that nature that are attached to the personal borrower, but they may have been filed with the house. You want to clear those off in a foreclosure, so you don't have to pay those later. So the foreclosure action will usually burn off any second liens, things of that nature. So the workouts or refinance, about 30% of them. So 3 of those, we're going to get those 10-23 FHA refinance, get a loan modification done, or they will do a short sale or cash you out somehow. Those are a third of how many deals you might end up buying. So we just discussed that if you bought 10 non-performing notes, 3 will go to reperforming. From the 3 or 4 guys I talk to on a regular basis, about 92 days, 95 days is what it takes for someone to reperform and get that note going again. If you're able to contact them, they usually get moving pretty well on that. 3 will be deed in lieu or foreclosure. That usually takes 95 out to 120 days or 6 months in the non-judicial states. And full foreclosure could be 6 months to 12 months plus. I've seen them take 16 months or so if there's any issues with the foreclosure process or missing documents. So that's, again, really important for you to make sure you do all your due diligence on the front end so you don't end up with any surprises later on. So again, remember, singles and doubles. A lot of these I showed you were really high-end profits, but assume that you'll probably build in about $15,000 in profit each on an asset that's worth about $25,000 in cost. And that'll be about a 60% ROI from 3 to 12 months. And if you can do it in 3 to 6 months, that's about 120 yearly return on investment. It's not shabby at all. And it's not like rehabs where you have to spend every day managing the contractors and the repairmen. The permits and all that stuff, this is much better because you're dealing with attorneys, you're dealing with professionals who have a system in place, and they do the paperwork, and they put all that stuff together for you. So just remember, what's your time worth, and how quick can you turn your money once you invest it. All right, so that's it for now. We'll talk about the non-performing note life cycle another time.